Okay, folks, here we go.
Guys, here we go. Let's have a good show.
One B, stand by. Okay,
Yeah.
Yacht,
Yeah,
take it.
take it at midfield.
Okay,
Just go
take
right
it.
now.
Okay,
Go to
well,
camera 3. 3. Go to the gate. Perfect.
you.
Just like that.
I'll just go ahead.
Yeah, graphics 2 is going to be up for the first.
Okay, take it.
Go right now. Go to camera 3. Go. Yep. Go to the gate. Perfect. Just like that. No music.
I'm going to hand to Q, Sophie.
Wait for it.
On radio in the Canal Zone.
All right, guys, mic check.
Go ready.
Okay, Ricky, mic.
Yep, I am ready.
Wait for it.
Willie, mic check.
Yep, let's go.
One B, stand by.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're live.
Okay, and go for it, guys.
All right, so it is round 2. I think we're on, if I'm not mistaken. I think on YouTube we are on, but I'm not sure.
Let
if
me
we're...
check.
Let's find out there.
Our Mulligan show.
Let me pull up the YouTube feed and see if it's showing there. Okay, I do see it on YouTube. Okay, so we're good there. Facebook, I'm getting one red light. Let me see on the other Facebook feed.
I'm still seeing a black screen, Willie.
No, it's on Facebook.
We're not on YouTube.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I see it on the SCN Canal Zone on YouTube. If I click watch on YouTube, it's pulling it up there, and yep, we're on it. Okay, cool. So, and let's look and see the latest comments. Somebody throw something in the comment if you're on there. Hopefully you're on the channel, because I don't see anybody in the studio, so I'm hoping that the signal's being received.
Yeah, I think it's
All right, Rosanna Price says that we're on. Good, thank you, Rosanna. Appreciate it. And she's commenting from YouTube. Awesome, excellent. All right, so
welcome everybody. Welcome. Sorry about our
technical difficulties, but you know, Ricky and I are a crack tech team as well, man. And so behind the scenes, we just started repairing things and doing some stuff, typing on the keyboard and sending signals here and there. And we got us on because that's what we do here, you know. We're
Yeah. But they will later on the show. We'll tell you what we really did.
yeah, because it wasn't close to that. Nonetheless,
All right. Anyways, welcome back, everybody. Willie, take it on.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know what? It's again, happy hour at the Balboa Yacht Club, Friday night, the 20th of December. Again, a night that's memorable for Zonians. And so we're going to definitely be talking about that. We'll have some great guests on tonight. Some members of the class of 1990. And again, fingers crossed, because again, we've been having several difficulties, so we're not promising anything at this point. But they'll be joining us. Hey, how we doing, Roseanne? We're doing fantastic. Hopefully you're doing well also. And also Don Stock. We had Don Stock on about 6 or 8 months ago. He's the author of a book about the Just Cause invasion, One Country, Two Hearts, and so he's going to be on to talk about that as well, because he talked to a lot of people that were involved in that, and he's got an interesting story. And then, like I said, the class of '90, Yvonne Fishbone, and a couple of her friends are going to hopefully join us as well to talk about their experiences. You know, prior to graduation, a lot had changed. What most of us that are watching this show that tune in know of going to school in the zone and you know, the proms and graduations and all that was quite a bit different for the class of '90. So
it's going to be great to hear from them, straight from the people from that class. Even though it happened in '89, this was the '90 class. Yeah, well, guys, thank you again from the bottom of our hearts for starting your weekend with us here Friday at the happy hour at the Balboa Yacht Club. Friday.
Yes,
December 20th. Yeah, thanks, guys, for being with us. You know, we're here. We bring you the latest. You know, here are some of the things you can expect. This is straight from the record. I'm recognizing and acknowledging. Thank you very much for what you guys wrote on about our show on the Canal record of this last issue. Well, see, these are some of the things you can expect on our show. some school memories at Balboa High School and Cristobal High School. Tonight, we're going to have two of those. Work life in the Canal Zone, life in general in the Canal Zone, which is our favorite part, and historical episodes. These are definitely what our show is about. We bring you the latest in the Zonian community, both in the U.S. and Panama, from our reunions, which we got one coming up here in a couple of weeks, to our luncheons, which we've had some just a couple of weeks ago, and then we have a few more coming up. Picnics, which we have to wait for better weather before those come up. Birthdays, which we give you every week. Golf tournaments, which we try to upgrade you on a weekly basis, and we got a couple of those coming up as well as all the latest on the Zonian community in Panama and the U.S. So welcome, guys. Welcome to our show, our second time around this Friday night. You know, it was a difficult night, and so there's no reason for it not to be difficult tonight. Now, these are a couple of things that did happen on this date in history. Back in 1999, Macau gave up. They're part of. The Portuguese gave up Macau to the Chinese on 1999. Here's a good one, Willie. In 2019, President Trump started what is called the Space Force. Was born today.
Yeah. Right.
And very importantly, for the holidays in 1946, the premiere of It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart came out today as well. And that has been popular for Christmas till today. So that's 54 plus 24,
right.
78 years of that show been on. But guys, also today, the 35th anniversary of the intervention of U.S. forces in Panama. A very, very unfortunate day, guys. And tonight, you know, Willie will be bringing on some guests talking about what they experience and a little bit more history on that. You want to tell us about that, Willie?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, Don Stock will be joining us. He wrote a book about some of the folks involved there, and he's got an interesting story because he was stationed down here in more than one occasion in several different roles with the military. His wife's Panamanian, so he's got a connection on both sides, and he's has a lot of the stories from a lot of the servicemen that were involved in that, and interesting how they found out about that, where he was when the invasion actually took place, and when the news broke, and then of course the class of '90, which was front and center in that because they were going through their school year, right? What we're going through right now, if we go back to, for myself, 1985 was the class of '86 going through that Christmas break. Ricky class of '81, so 1980 was his December 20th moment, and for these guys it was quite a bit different, right? Because they were doing a lot of things that we were doing, although under different conditions. But
yeah, one of those military levels, they had like Echo and Delta and things like that, and that's what they lived under. They would go out, they'd have to check what level of security they were.
And of course, in typical Zonian fashion, it got to a point where that's cool, we'll be good, and so
it's only that level, like in California when we hear there's a 4.0 earthquake out here, we're like, well, we'll sleep.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's after a while you start getting to a point where, well, not on Facebook, only YouTube. Yeah, Jill, it's on. It's on the on my Facebook page, but it's not on the SCN Canal Zone page. For whatever reason, it wouldn't reboot to that one. I did post a link on that Facebook channel, on the SCN Canal Zone channel, to the link to the YouTube channel. So hopefully people will jump on and catch it from there. But yeah, nonetheless, like 2 out of 3 we'll take, I guess.
Yeah, we are on 2 or 3. Yeah, but it is what it is. Guys, we're still here. Rain or shine, we're here. We're going to bring you some Canal Zone news and memories.
Right. Yeah, but myself, I wasn't in Panama for the invasion. And Ricky, I don't think you were either. Right?
I was in Hawaii back in those days.
So, we have our stories of what we were going through watching TV. My mom was there. My mom was in Costa Rica the day before, and he was going to go there one day. And Dad said, "Don't go there." And he's like, "Just one day, it's gonna be okay." Yeah. And of course, it happened to be the day before Just Cause. So But other than that, the people that were down there, this class of '90 is the one that we want to hear what their story was like and what that school year ended up being like and what they missed out on.
And that I'm sure they were at that party that all the Zonian kids were at. I bet you were there as well. I'd like to hear about that. My little brothers were there for that.
Yeah.
That was
So,
intense.
but anyhow, let's move things along because we do have some guests that will be joining us here shortly. We may not have them again, depending on how things have been working out with the connection and all that. But in the meantime, we'll just for the sake of time, especially being that we've already spent quite a bit of time here, we'll move along here and kick off into Ricky's Bochinche segment, which we all love to hear here. So let's kick it off with our favorite tune.
El bochinche, 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 el bochinche.
Okay, so there you go. There's your Bochincha segment. It's a little less lively tonight. And again, for obvious reasons. That this invasion really was something that hit home for everybody.
Intervention.
Yeah, well, that's the new term. I'm always old school, so I don't like change and whatnot. But yeah, that's what it is being called. And there's maybe some technicalities there as to what one would consider an invasion, and whether you actually can't be living there to invade a place, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah, conquering right? and occupying. Yeah.
But,
yeah.
So, but yes, so of course, talking about livening it up. Yes, absolutely, sure. Anyone else start dancing when the song comes on? You do. It's got.
I do. I'm always over here going.
Yep. Absolutely. There. So, Yvonne's on. Yeah, you can see us now on Facebook. Yes, cool, awesome. Yes, and Yvonne, I did send you via text. I sent you a link. That should still work. That link. If you ladies are going to join us, Yvonne's from that class of '90 that's going to talk about what went on during all that time. But in other news, there's other things going on in the Canal Zone and
in the Canal Zone community. Yes, and we're going to talk about a few things that our president from the Panama Canal Society, Mr. Carl Orvis, has been trying to get out there. Guys, last week we talked about the big early bird draw, which the Panama Canal Society is running for all those people, early birds that register early for both their membership and for the reunion. So if you guys can get that stuff in before, I think February or January, we'll correct the date. It's here soon. You can put your name in for this early bird lottery draw thing. So what I mean by thing is that there's going to be two different events where you can win these really great awards. The last week we talked about the one at the Space Coast Potluck, February 21st, the meet and greet, and February 22nd, a 2-night stay at the hotel. This week we're going to talk about the second event, which is March 29th. And this is being held, guys, at close to you, Willie, Friends of the Museum at the University of Florida.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. We had them on a few months ago, as well as Paul and Patty Myers, and they talked a lot about what they're doing there. Well, they're throwing their next luncheon, guys, and they're gonna have that early bird draw there. Now, their prizes, Willie, are a little nicer. They have actually 3 prizes. The big one, if the big award will be the 3-night stay, where the one from the February is a 2-night stay. This one you get a 3-night stay.
Okay.
Second place award, or the second best award for that draw, is an upgrade to a suite. So I've stayed at a suite before, and that's totally worth it. Because you have your living room, your kitchen, your dining room. You have 2 rooms on either side, and it's great for entertaining. Your inner circle. And then there's also the third prize is a dinner certificate for $200. That's a lot of money.
Nice.
For one of the 2 fine dining restaurants at the reunion. Yeah, Calla Bella or Cala Bella, because it's Calla Bella, which is probably Calle Bella. but the way it was spelled was Cala.
That's what they said in
Calla.
Alabama back in the day, so that makes sense.
It could be the Italian, and then A Land Remembered. It's the second ones. Anyways, the two fine dining restaurants there.
Nice.
So
That's cool.
third place gives you the certificate for that, guy. So that is for the March 29th coming up at Friends of the Museum at the University of Florida. It's both
And if you're gonna be going with, especially class reunions and stuff, if you're gonna be going to the reunion as a group, a lot of times you probably want to get, some rooms next to each other and stuff. You got to sign up early and get those reserved and put those requests in, because they do come as a first come first serve basis, and so
correct.
there's another added
double
incentive.
bonus.
Yeah, so even if you don't win the prize, at least you'll be able to be in rooms next to your friends and people you're going with. And speaking of friends, real quick, and graduating classes, the class of '75 is going to be joining us early next year, and talking about their senior year, walking through it over maybe a couple of visits to the show here to talk about what it was like in 1974 and '75 in the Canal Zone, getting ready to graduate from Balboa High School. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. We've done those class reunion shows before, and it's a lot of fun. We get a lot of people that join in the comments, that even sometimes people that you haven't heard from, classmates in 40, 50 years, all of a sudden chime in, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Willie, I got a little bochincha in the class of '75.
Okay.
They're sponsoring for the next reunion in Orlando. They're sponsoring the Thursday party, the happy hour Thursday.
Yep.
And they've got this new band coming in called Sal Samba. So you guys don't want to miss this. Go dance some samba. It's going to be good. That's the class of '75. They're going to be sponsoring that Thursday night. I got that.
I know that Joni Ridge McCoy is involved in that, and in fact, she just mentioned that she's going to the Canal Zone reunion in Panama. They just got their tickets and stuff in a couple of weeks, so she's excited about that. But yeah, they're going to be joining us in January. So stay tuned for that one. That's going to be a lot of fun here in the upcoming year. Which is,
I need to meet her. She's cool. Well, anyways, they're having that a little bochincha. And something else about that Carl had mentioned, guys. This is the reunion you don't want to miss, because Saturday night, this is after 30 years of playing at our reunions, this is Frankie's last gig. So you don't want to miss that one. It's going to be a great, great send off to a great musician that for 30 years been providing us with lucho music and Panamanian típico music. You guys all know those guys are really, really good. And,
by the way, speaking of last, I'm thinking this may be the case with the Canal Zone reunion in Panama coming up here. They do that iconic picture on the pier there at the Yacht Club, with the drone and the Bridge of Americas in the background. Well, as you guys know from previous shows, we were talking about the new bridge that they're building that's going to go cross over there. Well, that is in full force. That's not something that's still on the drawing boards. They have actually started that. I saw a
concrete
YouTube video of drone footage, and it kind of, I'm thinking about this in a way that may kind of suck, because next year I plan to go. I can't go to the reunion this year in Canal Zone, but I plan to go next year, which is our class of '86 is going to be having our reunion down there. So, looking forward to that and all our activities and taking that picture. And Ricky, that's going to be your class as well. That 81 would probably be doing something for that. But my point is that with the construction going, I'm hoping that's not the case, but progress is progress. That some of that has already taken place and is going to kind of ruin that background of the Bridge of the Americas, because at some point that's really not going to be the iconic background you're used to seeing as the entrance to the canal anymore. This other bridge is going to completely overshadow it, even if it's behind it, because it's right next to it. They're building it literally right next to it. It's only a few hundred yards past it, inside of the canal. So, nonetheless, you guys in '85, you may be lucky to be the last ones to take a picture with that bridge, man. So savor that moment, man, for sure.
Yeah, like you said, speaking of last, it might be the last one. And Willie, just to wrap this up, to get to our guests on the March 29th event, guys, is at the University of Florida, is it Smathers Library?
Yep.
which is on campus in Gainesville. You know, it's in between West University Avenue and Union Road, guys. Okay, they will there's two major things going on. First, they have a new exhibition in the Namat Panama Canal Gallery. I hope I pronounced that right.
Okay.
But the second thing is that they're going to be focusing on the history of the many Panama Canal employees involved with ship transits, which is something, Willie, you and I have been trying to put together here with the three folks. So maybe that's something we can work with them together. And guys, to wrap that up, the lunch starts at noon with the happy hour starting an hour before 11 a.m. $40 a person. There's gonna be some great food, like there was at the last luncheon. This one will have a seasoned Cuban baked chicken, carne desmechada. Willie, I know. I remember hearing that. I mean, I would have to ask my mate at Dilma what the heck that was, but that sounds like something we grew up eating. Arroz amarillo, some baked plantains, some pigeon peas from Steven's Circle, and some Morgan Garden salad. No, I'm only kidding about the pigeon keys from Morgan's from Steven's Circle. Yeah, so don't forget to sign up and support this effort. You know that these guys are behind the effort to digitize our historical treasures.
Yes, they are.
And yes, and what pays for that is your contribution, your dues, and don't forget, it's all tax deductible. So right on, guys.
Absolutely. It is a 501c3 and it's $26, guys. It's, I mean, God almighty, that's what you spend to go eat lunch with somebody at McDonald's nowadays in most places.
Yeah. So that's a good thing to digitize our history. We're trying to, put it on YouTube as well. And then that was to wrap up the Canal Zone side. Now we're going to wrap up the Panama side, which is, I love talking about the president of Panama because I think he's doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
One thing I like about him is how cocky he's getting. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but I like it. And now he calls out he called out Venezuela. He broke relations with West Sahara, right, and he's telling all the French, especially, like, hey, you're gonna put us on the blacklist, we're gonna put you on the blacklist, right?
Yeah.
Now he's calling out Nicaragua's President Ortega for his failure to respect human rights both internationally, at home. This guy doesn't respect diplomatic norms, and so that's one of the things that he came out doing. It was kind of cool. I kind of enjoyed it seeing.
Yeah, you're talking about him, people want to push him around, he'll push back. When you think about shipping, in general, when you look on ships, and we obviously saw it all the time in Panama, and maybe some of you just assume that because they're going through the Panama Canal, they said ship registry Panama, but there's ships have to be registered and recognized by a country which has a lot of legalities, which we'll ask Andrea when he comes on next time on the show what exactly that entails. But Panama is one of the largest ship registry countries in the world, and
I think we are the largest now. Just became the largest.
Probably, no, wouldn't doubt it. But it's Panama, Bahamas, U.S., Liberia, a couple of big ones. But nonetheless, they're using that registry component as one of the ways to say, don't mess with Panama. We may be a small little isthmus and only have 1 million plus people, but we have a lot
4 million plus. Yeah, speaking of Nicaragua, Willie, everybody's been talking about this canal, right? Anyway, so now they came up with a new design, maybe this is why Molino's taking on Nicaragua. I mean, I know why he's taking them on because of the whole Martinelli angle, but I think he's also taking them on because of all this noise coming out of Nicaragua about a new canal. Well, what they ended up coming out with, Willie, is yet another design. And this design is even longer, right? Costlier than the last design. So again, I don't know who's going to end up spending more money to transit for a longer time when all you got to do is go through Panama. So again, guys,
and Ricky, there's something interesting about that, because you and I were chatting about that the other day, right? And how we mentioned that no matter what they find as an improved version, be it Nicaragua, Mexico, whomever, the amount that it would cost them, it just is so much more than what it would cost Panama to add another set of locks if
Yeah,
they had to expand again.
correct.
But to that point, when I was watching that video the other night that I was telling you, where it's showing, you know, the progression, and I'll post a link on here, share it on the Facebook page later. But it's this guy that does he uses a drone and he does YouTube videos that follow the construction. I mean, they're actually shaving down a little bit of Sosa Hill on the backside there by the dry docks, you know, to bring in this elevated, you know, roadway. Right.
Oh,
That's the extent of the infrastructure that they're putting in. So, but what was interesting to the point that you're talking about here, they he referenced back to, I guess, a meeting or a planning meeting for this whole construction and how everything's set up there. And the way this bridge is being set up and put in there, they have already future proofed it so that it has left enough room for another set of locks to go in. So in other words, long-term thinking is that Panama at some point will put another set of locks in. It's not a matter of
yeah.
if they'll do it, it's when.
When,
And so they're
correct.
already preparing for it with this new infrastructure that's a major project because it has both, you know, the bridge component and the metro under the water.
And the
And
tunnel.
so they're taking into account all of that with the thought process of putting another set of locks in. So these people, if you invest to put something in Nicaragua or one of these places, man, I think you're investing in a losing plan. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think you're going to be a French canal again, you know?
Yeah, I don't think, this show stands behind that. That's a no-go. Willie, yes or no?
Yeah.
We're
No go,
100%
man. Two
behind
thumbs
that.
down,
It's a
brother.
no-go. So Panamanians, you guys can sleep at night. There's not going to be any competition.
Yeah.
And not only that, Willie, they're also expanding the lake so they can have, more
Correct.
water
Yeah,
capacity.
I'm telling you, they're future proofing this, man. In the future, if they have to do another one, we've got everything in place. We don't have to do a major shift to the highways or nothing. It's there.
Yeah. All right on, man. So
They
that's
still
what we
the end of
have.
the Thatcher Ferry Bridge, though, the Bridge of the Americas, because I think another set of locks, that one is going to be in the way.
Well,
And
it's metal doesn't last forever, You either got to
well,
replace
and that
the
damn
metal
work they did with all the replacement metals not going to help. I don't think that'll get replaced, unfortunately, knowing the history of the way things
there
were.
was a scam issue about that. They stole all the all
They
the panels.
did.
Well, speaking of more U.S. Panama news, we recently had to happen today. We had a visit from two major warships went through the canal. I hope our captain had something to do with them. The Sumwalt, which is that really weird shaped ship. Then I think Captain Andrew actually brought it through the last time he came by, and it got like a flat tire going through the canal. And I think, our captain is the one that pulled it out.
Right.
Well, anyways, they were back. That's a $4.4 billion ship, almost the cost of the last canal they built.
Yeah.
And then also one of our submarines, a Virginia class submarine, went by the Montana, the USS Montana.
It's
Also transited on the 20th. I don't know if that's symbolic or
right.
what.
Yeah, a
But
little
that's,
reminder. Uncle Sam's always nearby. Uncle Sam can project power quickly and easily. But
and- but they're saying
talking
they're-
about the
ahead, sorry.
military and talking about the canal, the canal always had that stipulation that it has to remain neutral, right? That everybody
Correct.
gets to use it. And so, the
that way
Cold
they
War
don't bomb it.
Right, absolutely. And so I remember my dad telling me this story of having to go and pick up a naval officer either in Rodman or in Amador, and they went to the Miraflores locks, and rather than go up to the parking lot where the observation deck was, they made that little left turn there where you would go like to the Sportsman's Club and then to the end of the swing bridge. And they actually went to the end of the swing bridge there, and he got out and he had this briefcase with him. He took it, he set it down on the edge of the locks there, or the canal, because it was at the end of it there, right where the swing bridge was. Opened it up, did what he had to do, and closed it, left it there, and then got in the car and they left. And after the ship went through, they went back, picked it up, and it was a Russian ship that was going through, and that's how they were scanning it. So while it was neutral, you still had a bunch of Americans there, so it'd be foolish to think that they're not going to keep an eye on what's going through there. So he mentioned that, and then he also mentioned, remember we were talking about that nuclear reactor that was parked in Gatun for several years. It was there. Well, my dad said, he goes, "Yeah, I was watching the show, and that ship that was there." He goes, "We were on it." Really? He goes, "Yeah," and it had something to do with some kind of safety training that they had. The Canal Zone police had to get on. Maybe it was being that it's nuclear and everything. Maybe what you had to know and not know as far as safety and everything goes. But it was cool to hear him talking about that he was also on that ship when it sat there, and it was there providing power for a long time. He said, he goes, "That's it. That's exactly what those power poles were for, being. That's why they were so close to that area, because that's where the power was converted from the turbines with the water rushing through, and then sent to power the Canal Zone. So this ship, being a nuclear reactor providing power, it plugged right into that same system through those lines that were built. So those were built specifically for that ship, that line that was put in.
That's totally amazing history.
Yeah.
I know I never knew about that till recently.
No,
And
no. That's why we're so lucky to have Dave, the Dave Dahlstrom, the Canal Zone historian, on, because he does bring a lot of things that we knew but didn't know.
Well, he
We lived it.
researches all the side things that were going on the side, not what everybody, sees and, been hearing on our, history channels or whatnot. He researches the stuff that happens on the side. This is why it's cool to
Well,
have
if
him
you ever
on.
have a chance to talk to him one-on-one, I mean, you can absolutely tell that this guy just has a passion for the Canal Zone history. And I mean, his family has a great legacy there, so it makes sense that he wants to know everything about his
Oh,
family.
yeah, he's
you know,
fourth generation. That's
but he
legit.
really does. You can feel it when he tells you about it. He loves that history of the zone, and he lives and breathes it.
He's just one of those. I mean, he's that fourth generation. I mean, that's
Right.
his
Yeah,
DNA.
for sure.
There's no other,
DNA indeed.
mix. There's nothing. That's the
Yeah, no
thing about
kidding.
these third, fourth, fifth generation Zonians. That's what they are. That's
Yeah.
what, and this is what this show's all about. It's about bringing you their experience.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Zonian and this whole thing, guys, I know that a lot of people have heard me say, what if Panama was the 51st state, right? And everybody thought it was crazy. Right. But listen to this, Willie. Trump recently called out that Canada should be the 51st state, right?
Right.
So I'm going through my research, which I normally do on Panamanian news, and I try to read them all, right? All the local ones plus all the social media ones, right? And so I see that I start reading the articles because I'm like, why would this article be on Panamanian news? Who the heck? Why did Panama care?
Right.
About Trump?
Between Canada and the U.S.
Willie, I got to tell you, man, it seemed to me like one of every three comment was, wait a second, we should be the 51st state, because of this reason, that reason, whatever. So I was like, see, I'm not the only one that feels that way. I'm not crazy,
We're
guys.
coming back.
There is a still a great connection between the two nations and a brotherhood and a love, and it's so great.
Puerto
to
Rico,
see it.
sorry, man.
It's so great to see it. Not that we want to be a 51st state. No. I'm just saying, the relation of the U.S. and Panama has always been tight. But there's been a period of nationalism where it seems like we're against each other, and I'm a product of that, guys. I'm a Panamanian that grew up in the Canal Zone, and I didn't, I experience a brotherhood, not a like, oh, there's the Panamanian, maybe growing up, because I was in a lot of fights as a kid growing up. But I think that had to do more with my wife's mouth than anything else. But anyways, guys, let's continue with our show and not waste any more.
But you're not alone in that. Like, look, Rosanna Price is up on the chat there. I pray and pray for USA to get back in there for protection. Many reasons. I think many of us would be, amen. We would be back. If it's a U.S. state, forget about it. Yeah, for sure, I'm back.
No, a U.S. state is far reach, but all I'm saying is that you're seeing that there is a pro-U.S. Mentality in Panama, and not the propaganda that has been out there for the last 10, 20 years.
Jill, I'm going to get to your comments. Don't worry. I see them on there. We're going to talk about that here in a moment, because you ain't kidding. We got to, we're going to, there's some of that coming up here in January, I think, isn't there, on the East Coast with some tree burns and stuff. But that was like a Canal Zone sport. You have the national sport. That was our sport, was a tree burn.
Oh, no, there's one coming up in Panama. They haven't, that tradition has not faded away. They still have that out in Cardenas. And I want to say it's the 17th of January.
Well, the tree burn in itself, that was, while the tree burn was great.
Huge, not great, huge.
of the tree burn, but the true essence of the tree burn in the zone was the battle to get and keep the trees.
Oh, protect, oh,
That was
defend, yeah.
all about. I mean, that was just a blast. What a
Yeah.
great time that was,
Yeah,
man.
and the protection was done by the guys for the first year that moved into the group. Those are the guys that had to stay late and
Yeah,
not
there
go
was a
home
caste
for
system,
dinner because you got
right?
your trees ripped off when we were at eating dinner between 6 and 7. So there had to be a group that stayed
Absolutely.
in there between that time.
Listen, every one of those guerrilla groups had their rankings, right?
Yeah. And
Uh,
almonds. We used to use almonds to keep you away, throw almonds at you.
yeah. So you guys get ready if you got your Christmas tree burning stories. Get ready because we're gonna be talking about that here in just a moment, man. Because that
Well, in
was that.
January, let's do it January after Christmas because we're not burning trees yet. We're
Well, no, we're
decorating
good.
trees
We're
now.
good. It's okay to start that now. We're good because right now it's you and I in the studio, so we're not rushing too much at this point.
Okay,
Right.
cool. We got birthdays and we got a couple other little things, guys. But still, Panama does have the tree burn. So all you guys in Panama that are watching the show,
Yeah.
it's in Cardenas. You can always look up Alex and he'll tell you. But it's a pretty big event, so there's a lot of places to get information in Panama about
Yeah, for
that
sure.
event coming up.
Good
So
stuff.
Willie, what do you think? Happy birthdays to our great
Yeah,
group of
we've got quite a
Zonians.
list, man, and we've got some big names there for sure, man. So let's go ahead and get into that there. Do your thing, Papa.
I like to start with the 81s, but it looks like I didn't lose it. It's right here. Guys, from the class of 81, which is where we like to say happy birthday, we have quite a few. We want to start out with our very good friend, Randall Bennett, who his birthday is on the 25th. My very, very, very close friend, Jimmy Klingon. His birthday is actually
Mm,
today, the
it sure
20th.
is.
Happy
Jimmy.
birthday. Joey Flood, a very good friend of mine and a good football player. He's a pilot for, I believe, one of the Federal Express, one of those guys.
Oh, very good.
Happy birthday. His birthday was yesterday. The beautiful Gwen Knox, her birthday was also yesterday. Dr. Danny Salzman, who's doing some fantastic work. His birthday was 2 days ago. I believe he works on cancer research.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and he's
Good for
doing a
him.
really he's onto some stuff there. So right on, Danny, Canal Zone forever, my friend. And Maria Sando, happy birthday, you 81 guys. Truly, man, I love you 81 guys. That's just my graduating class,
He does.
guys.
He's
For
got
the
that
rest of
privilege.
the
Got that executive privilege to call out his class first. That
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, I do. I mean, thank you, William, and I did fight hard for that.
He did.
Yeah, but we got it. So we're gonna move on. Robert Klaus, happy birthday from the big Klaus family. His brother is Robert the captain or Robert the younger one?
I believe he is.
The captain, yes, the captain. So happy birthday! I played football against him. We
Yes.
have
Because I played football
Judy
with Jaime.
Dole. Yeah, Jaime's brother, Judy Dole. Happy birthday, Raquel Peñalver. I don't know if that's Herman's sister or not, but happy birthday to her, Raquel. Paul Fiore, very good friend.
All the way up in
Patricia
Alaska.
Payne from the great Payne family. Paul Fiore and the Paynes were actually neighbors in the
Yes,
Empire
right.
Range. Yeah. Tom Frost, happy birthday. Lucho Ortiz, happy birthday. The beautiful Emily Ambrose George. And happy birthday to Ann Hauser. What a cool name. Ann Heiser. Ron Romo. Has to be related to Tony Romo. No, I'm only
Yeah,
kidding.
right.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
because how many Romos did you ever heard of? That's the second
Yeah,
Romo I've ever heard of.
yeah,
And Tony Romo is actually Mexican.
yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So happy birthday to Ron Romo, David Zimmerman. Happy birthday, Vita Anderson Church.
Mhm.
Yes, the beautiful Michelle Bryant, Eileen Cavazos. Happy birthday, Frank Alberga, who's normally on the show with us. Happy birthday, Frank. Mike Keister. I hope I said
Yep,
that
yep,
right.
yep. Atlantic Cider.
Happy birthday. Last but not least, Etta Walker. Happy birthday to all you guys. And Willie,
Yeah,
if there's
no,
anybody
absolutely.
special out there,
Yeah, there's absolutely one more. It's a very special birthday, and this is tomorrow's birthday. Is for the one and only Al Sprague. One that's he's a big fan of the show. We've had him on a show. We're big fans of Al Sprague and Cassie Sprague and PanamaArt.com. So check them out. There's still an opportunity maybe to get something. May not get it by Christmas at this point, but you know what? In Panama, we also celebrated January 6th, Dia de los Reyes Magos, right? So
That's true. And
a
that's when
great
everybody goes back to
opportunity.
work in Latin America, by the way.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So great opportunity to get a nice gift and you know what? Celebrate the wonderful Al Sprague. But anyhow, happy birthday to you, Al Sprague, and to everybody else.
All you
Love
Zonians,
celebrating
happy
you guys
birthday.
on here. So yes, happy birthday indeed. Yes, indeed, and that's another one that makes you dance. And so we do have some cool tunes.
Yeah. It should have that dun 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 at the end.
Yeah,
That
there you
would be
go,
just
right?
perfect. That's very, very Panamanian. Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
last thing on the bochinche, really, I have to sneak this one in because this
Okay.
came in from a secret
Kind of a
source.
looping
Is
back here, guys. That's what
Yeah,
they call
kind
a
of
loop
looping
back.
back because they want me to plant this seed, and that is the following: they had a great luncheon, I understand, at Tampa, but why not have a thought process? Think about bringing it back to St. Pete. That's something we want to plan out there because you guys remember in St. Pete, Christmas time, you have all the lights, beautiful Christmas lights. It's almost, and you also have a ton of things to do, like after the event. Because what I understand is after the event, everybody boop went home, and that was it.
Right.
So maybe we can get somebody out there like Carl Orvis, or maybe we can get someone out there like our big friend that really runs the show to consider moving that luncheon to St. Pete. That would be really great. We understand the parking's a problem. We get it. We understand. But the counter to that would be is all the events afterwards, because Willie, there was 80 to 100 people that attended.
Yeah.
Imagine 40 or 50 of them hanging out in St. Pete afterwards and all the restaurants
Sure.
and bars, things they got going there and all the Christmas lights. Well, anyways, I wanted just to plant that out there, Willie. Now we're going to continue with our show.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as Cassie's saying there, listen, if you're gonna order anything, they're heading out to Hawaii, so it'll ship after Christmas. But again, great for Three Kings Day. And if you're in Panama, no worries. He's gonna be down at the Canal Zone reunion in Panama, and we have all their stuff at Stevens Circle, which is a really cool setup down there for vendors. So you can get a lot of really cool Al Sprague art, both in actual paintings and prints, and then of course, the replicas, and then all the other great stuff, the tumblers and the tote bags and everything else. So but check them out, panamaart.com, and safe travels. Enjoy Hawaii, guys, for sure. So but cool. So listen, let's take a real quick break, guys, because we do have Don Stock on. But before we do that, I did say we're going to talk about Christmas trees, because I am going to talk about that. We're going to end up making this a show that we're going to end up doing, because it really is something that we all talk about, and we all did it for sure. But so Jill's the one that kicked it off the conversation. She goes, "Can't wait to hear about Gamboa dominating the Christmas tree teams in Burns." Okay, well, Gamboa for us in the zone, that was a long way off. Gamboa was it was we didn't have cars down here, right? When you were doing this stuff, you were on bicycles. You were running around between La Boca, Ancon, Diablo, Los Rios, that kind of Balboa, of course. So maybe you guys dominated, but that was probably on that side of the bridge. We'll just leave it at that.
Gamboa? Oh, Gamboa kids always dominated.
But they were, you Gamboa
They had
guys.
the jungle training that we didn't. We were
They
we
did.
were
They
more the city
Yeah.
boys, the city
Yeah,
kids.
Gamboa. I'm serious. The Gamboa to me was like it's like the Wild West in the zone. It was a different area there. You had to go through the woods forever to get out there, and cross the bridge and everything. So it was
And that
almost like the
very-
Coakley people had that too.
And that legendary straight before the bridge that you can just floor it. But then you had to
Yeah.
avoid that big hole. Remember the big hole that was there forever?
Yeah. They never ever filled that thing in, man. That was it. But nonetheless, the Christmas tree burns and the Christmas tree collections, those were the epic part about it. When we got to the Christmas tree burn, honestly, we were just kids running around. We'd go there just to go and hang out and play, right? It would be mostly the parents and maybe the older people hang around with the tree burn, but We'd have fun
Oh, the
throwing them in there and watching
marshmallows. Oh,
others.
don't you remember the marshmallows? The
Yeah, but
marshmallows
you
were
know what? You have a
huge.
few of those, and then you go run around, man. It's a cool time to hang out at night, right? And
Eh,
so,
You're like
but
5 years younger than me for yeah. So
that's
you were
true.
young.
But
Yeah.
like I said, to me, going out at night and stealing trees from a
Yep.
rival's hold was
Oh,
absolutely epic,
yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely epic, man.
Well, because there
Because
was always a
you go back
story on
to
how
school and
you
talk
punked
about
them.
it.
Yeah, because there was always a story on how you punked them. You're like, "Hey, look to
Yeah,
the left." Boom, and we ripped them off to the right. There was always and then
absolutely.
we
And you
talked
walk
about how we
around it,
did that.
and maybe you're
Yeah,
walking around in school and saying, "Don't say we did anything. Don't tell them about it." And
yeah,
we'll go around. Hey, was that you guys? No, it wasn't us. Yeah, it
yeah.
was. No, it wasn't us. That was absolutely the best, man. So for sure, the Christmas trees were epic. And you know what? We'll definitely put that one out there and start figuring it out because there was a lot of people that had their groups and stuff. Diana's Speeding Club was the best Christmas tree. Okay, that was. I remember it in by the Abu Sad Temple by the train station because they had that big parking lot area there.
Oh, yeah. That's where ours was. That's right, Willie. Yeah,
Great ones too because remember they had that field there by those picnic table areas there. So you could have a pretty good, and of course the Speeding Club was a great hangout anyway. Every other shed there was a bar basically. So
yeah.
you
Those
know,
sheds were cool, man. They all
yeah,
had a
that
little
was
house in the back, a little apartment.
yeah. Speeding Club was one of those cool places, man. One of those cool, truly Zonian places, you know.
Yeah,
And
maybe we'll
speaking of
have
cool
somebody
Zonian
in
places,
leave Celine and Rory Summers. Those boys can talk about that area because their dads had sheds there.
yes, absolutely. And happy anniversary to Dodd and what 30 years. Wow, congrats. Happy anniversary, Kieran and Dodd for sure, man. Salute. A toast to that one, everybody. Let's toast to their anniversary, everybody. Heck yeah, man. Right
That's a
on.
great
Salute.
couple, great Zonian couple.
Now, speaking of cool hangouts, if you guys are on Instagram, I don't know if any of you guys are on Instagram and follow Jason Curtides, but in the last few days, he's been posting some really, really amazing pictures. They're very beautiful. They're clear pictures, but they're what would you say, Rick?
75. That's the seven.
Okay,
I would say 75. It's probably
okay,
earlier,
okay.
but they
Now
look like the 75s to me.
there was a trying to move some mouse here, but there was a whoops. No, there was remember in the ballparks in between the two little league fields that were
Yes,
across each other, the
yes,
rail car. There was a
yes.
bar there. Remember that?
I got a story for you on that one.
Dime.
So I was in Farmer League, right?
Okay.
And my coach was Dickie MacArthur's dad. So
Okay.
this was my first year, and the year before I was on Pee Wees, and I was good. So I came to Farmer League thinking I was going to start, and Mr. MacArthur would bench me, and I would get upset. So I
Oh,
would
no.
leave, and I would get a rock, and I would break every window in that pub.
No.
I was 8 years old. I remember that, and they would be like, "No, Ricky!" Bam, 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 break them all.
Wow. Brutal.
Sorry,
Whoa.
guys. It was me that broke your windows.
All right. Well, don't send that bill to the Happy at the Balboa Yacht Club. All right. Send that bill to Ricky, not to me. Man.
Yeah, Mr.
Nothing to do with
MacArthur,
that.
God bless
That's
his soul.
hilarious.
Yes.
But that
Dickie
was one of
can
the
attest
rail
to
cars
that.
that they had taken and they had turned it into a bar,
Yes,
and it was
yes,
a cool little pub. I think my battery's going out on this mouse. Sorry, but
yes, Lee, Bobo MacArthur.
I mean, beautiful pictures. There's quite a few great pictures on there. I want to post some of those on there because I want to figure out some of those people. One of them, someone looks very familiar, but I can't make out who she is. But I'd like to find out. It's just great pictures and crystal clear. I mean, they look like they were taken today, but they're black and white, obviously, and you can tell from the era they were a while ago. But just fantastic pictures. So thank you for sharing those, Jason. Keep sharing them, man.
Yeah,
Those are
the
really
way I
cool.
remember the pub, it was before my time, but the way I remember was like
Yeah.
they had the bar was in the caboose, and then they
Yes.
had like a platform right outside.
Correct,
Where they would
because
have
that was
a
like a
band.
loading dock that they would pull up trains to, like a
Correct, and then
warehouse.
that's what the band would set up, and then
Okay.
everybody would dance on that concrete platform in front, and they would have tables and stuff like that. That's the way I
Interesting.
remember it, because I
Interesting.
used to walk to Farmer League games, right? So you had to walk in front of
Yeah,
them.
yeah, you could cross the street between those fields.
Correct.
Because that was the last field. It was that last. They were the little league fields. The farm league fields were on the other side, by the Pee Wee League field, behind the adult fences. Remember where the adult field was? That's where the two farm league fields were. But yeah, that was just really cool. I just when you mentioned that, it got me thinking about that we saw those the other day. So, but nonetheless, guys, we're gonna move things quite along here because we've been on for quite a bit. Take a really fast break, get a chance to refill your drinks, use the restroom, whatever it is, and then we have Don Stock is going to be joining us and talk about his book and his knowledge because he has a lot of knowledge of Just Cause and what happened 35 years ago. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, let me go ahead and give us a where is it?
Yes, a very important video to us.
Yeah, no, for sure. If I can find the darn thing, where the heck is it? Oh, I didn't label it. That's why. But yeah, nonetheless, go ahead and fill your drinks. We'll be back in about 3 minutes, guys.
Deep within the jungles of Central America lies the Isthmus of Panama, a narrow strip of land connecting North and South America as well as dividing the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans. It is here, in Panama, that explorers dared to imagine the impossible, a path to join the world. King Charles of Spain commissioned a research expedition to survey a canal in the isthmus in 1567. He was searching for a way to shorten months of perilous sea travel around Cape Horn in South America. In the middle of the 1800s, Great Britain also surveyed the isthmus for a canal route and a shortcut to Asia. Finally, in 1881, the French diplomat and Suez Canal builder Ferdinand de Lesseps tried to replicate his efforts in Panama. But unlike the flat and soft sand in Egypt, the stifling jungles, rocky terrain and disease in Panama proved to be a much different and more challenging landscape. This challenge proved to be too much and resulted in failure. As the new century began, the United States took up the challenge of cutting through the continental divide. America was fast becoming a global power. Her new industrial might and ingenuity were about to be showcased to the world. Excavating the impossible, the building of the Panama Canal, is the story of dreams brought forth from failure, of innovative leaders and men who toiled and sacrificed to see two oceans united. It's a story of technology, of courage, and of unbreakable human spirit. This 5-part series will be the most comprehensive and detailed account of the building of the Panama Canal. We'll begin with a journey back 4 centuries to the Spanish Empire and their colonial aspirations, followed by British attempts in the 19th century, and finally culminating with the failed French attempt at the end of the 1800s. Part 2, we'll enter a new century and see the emergence of America and Teddy Roosevelt, with a bold and ambitious plan for a canal where others said it couldn't be done. We'll learn about the early plans, the logistics, the companies and people involved. In Part 3, we'll learn about early hurdles, poor decisions and setbacks that almost doomed the American endeavor. And we'll see how America changed direction and overcame the early stumbling blocks and turned failure into progress. Part 4 will cover the incredible project of surveying, excavating, damming and building of the world's most important waterway, all while engaged in a relentless fight against disease, weather and terrain. Finally, Part 5 reveals the steps in completing this strategic waterway and the first ships that crossed a fully operational Panama Canal, changing global trade forever. This is the most complete and researched authoring of the construction of the 8th wonder of the world. This is a comprehensive story behind one of the greatest engineering marvels in human history, excavating the impossible, the building of the Panama Canal.
All right. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Still a work in progress. A lot of things going on. I finally received an email a couple days ago from the Library of Congress regarding that last map that I was looking for. Remember, I mentioned the other day I had this really cool topographical map that I had downloaded that showed the landscape of what would become the canal zone in the Panama Canal. And prior to that, where there was no Gatun Lake, there was no Culebra Cut, there was none of that, right? There was the Chagres River going out to the Atlantic, but none of that was there. So it's going to be a really cool perspective of what we saw there. And then as it started to be dug and changed in the landscape that we became familiar with. But, you know, part of that, I needed these topographical maps, and it was a fantastically done map. It was done in 1905 by the Isthmian Canal Commission, and it was split into 3 different parts because it was a really good resolution on it. And they finally found the 3rd part. They were missing it, and so I had reached out to them, and they said, you know what, we'll look for it. And they sent me a message saying they found it and they were going to get it digitized, and so they finally got it done. So I can keep progressing with that part, because that was going to be a really, the technology today allows us to envision things that you couldn't see back in the day, you know, that couldn't be done before in what would be a much different documentary, right? Much more comprehensive as to what it really looked like to build a canal before it started, what it really looked like to start digging a section out, and it went from what looked like a mountain and a hill to then there's a channel through there, and that's the Culebra Cut, you know, and there was a river area here that suddenly started getting filled in and became the base for Madden Dam and the Gatun Dam and everything else. So I'm excited to start moving forward again with it now that I've got that piece. But nonetheless, let's continue moving forward. Again, our show tonight, December 20th, has everything to do with the invasion, or as Ricky likes to call it, the what? What is it, Ricky?
I already forgot. But it's what the government's putting out there. What was it? Not invasion, but
something or other. But anyway, so back in the Operation Just Cause, this is a 35th anniversary, and so
intervention
is Don Stock. Don Stock is the author of this book, Personal. Let me uncover there. Personal, One Heart, Two Countries. Okay, and that's a book he wrote, which is everything to do with the invasion and what transpired, and talking to people that did this. You know, Don, you walked into a barracks and saw what was going on, right? Is that how you found out about the invasion?
Yes. Thank you for having me on.
Of course,
right on, Don.
Of course.
Yes, that's how I found out. I came back from skiing, and I walked into the TV room, and bam, there it was. We invaded Panama.
And you recognize it because you'd already been stationed there.
Well, no, this was before. That's what gave me the idea to go to Panama.
Okay, right on. Okay, cool. So tell me how that went through then. How'd you end up being in Panama?
So I put in paperwork to be transferred, and as you know, the U.S. Army is famous for sending you wherever you don't want to go.
Right.
So somehow they sent me to Panama, and it's it's history after that. I fell in love with the country. Lived here for 13 years as a civilian after getting out of the military.
So when you went in the military, where did you get stationed?
So I was stationed at Fort Kobe.
Okay.
For 2 years, and it's a beautiful little area that doesn't exist anymore. Right. But I mean, it's
what Fort Kobe housed, because Fort Kobe was an army base, correct?
Yes, it was behind Howard Air Force Base.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, most of the zone lived on the East Bank.
Yes.
Throughout, from the length of the canal, it was always on the East Bank. There was a few on the West Bank, you know, the Coakley area, and you know, on the Atlantic side, I'm sure there was a couple stuff out there, but Kobe, we never visited. Nobody really knew what that place was like. And so, who were you with there in the Army?
I mean, we would go to the beach.
Well, that's it. But I mean, that's all we knew about it. But we knew about Clayton. Even, you know, we knew what was in Clayton. Right. We knew what was in Albrook. We knew what was in
Amador, Clayton, and Albrook.
Yeah, but Howard and Kobe, we rarely visited those. You know, even for football, we never played football in Howard. Remember, they always came. I
played one game there in Little.
Did you really?
I had a. I don't think I know I had a girlfriend out there, so that's the only reason why I went.
Well, I had a girlfriend out there too, but Howard Eagles played in.
It wasn't the same girl, was it?
No, we're 5 years. We have a 5-year difference. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was just interesting, but nonetheless, so Kobe was an army base, and you got stationed there.
Yes, I got stationed there. I met my wife,
What year were
and
you down there for that?
right after Just Cause, 91, 92.
Okay.
So right after so what the military did after Just Cause, they rotated all the soldiers out. So and brought in new soldiers, and I was part of that new group of soldiers that came in because they wanted to spread the knowledge that the soldiers learned because of Just Cause. So what they did was they spread them out throughout the military. It's it's normal for the military to do that.
Understood.
Interesting. Okay.
They
Yeah,
kind
that
of
was right 2 years before Iraq, which is also
Yeah.
similar urban warfare.
Yes, and you know if you, I could go down that rabbit hole if you like. There's a lot of my wife is going to slap me for this, but there's a lot of rumors that the invasion of Panama was done in a way to practice for the invasion of Iraq. That's I mean you can go down that rabbit hole if you like.
Sure.
That's
Sure.
Maybe the
that is,
tactics and the new weapons, but having
Yeah.
bases there for as long as they did, I'm sure they had plans for something.
Yeah.
Something of that
Well,
nature.
during my gathering of data for the book, in my interviews, I found out that the actual invasion of Panama was planned about a year prior
It was.
to. So it
My dad
wasn't
was in part of that. My dad was at Canal Protection. He was up there in Canal Protection. So yeah, that was definitely something that was not. It's funny. I was just tonight watching another YouTube video just to get some background on some notes and some different things. One of the things they mentioned was that U.S. Marine that got killed.
Yes.
A few days prior, and the way the story goes, and in 4 days they were able to mobilize 14,000 people. I'm like, really? You think so, huh? You think in 4 days they said, hey, I think we need to go to war, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, that was
No.
well planned. We've had, Dave MacArthur has talked about this at many points because he worked as a civilian in the motor pool out there in Howard, and he used to see those aircraft come in and pull
Yeah.
into those hangars and shut the doors and unload the aircraft and then load
Yeah.
them on wherever. So this was not something that was spur of the moment by any stretch,
Yeah. If you don't mind me adding to that, I actually I received a story from a lady who worked in the control tower at Howard at the airport, and she was working there her regular shift, and a C-130 came and landed without permission. It went to the end of the runway, and it stopped, and a truck pulled up to it. She said she's watching this, and she's notifying her bosses of what this unauthorized plane landing. The plane, it stopped. A truck pulled up to the airplane. Some guys got out. She said that they talked to somebody on the airplane. The guys got back on the truck. The plane turned around and left the airport.
Just like that.
So she's freaking out about this because that's her responsibility. She was an air traffic controller.
Certainly.
So this guy shows up about 20 minutes later in this suit. She doesn't know who this guy is. And the gentleman tells her, you didn't see anything that just happened.
Yeah.
And you're not authorized to talk about what just happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember my dad telling me one time when he was in the Air Force, they flew an aircraft out to Libya, and then from there went to some other place in Central Africa. They got out. Somebody immediately spray painted over the markings on the aircraft. They jumped into a truck and went to another base and took a flight to Brazil and back up to Orlando. And that was the end of that. And that aircraft was no longer part of the U.S. inventory. And somebody was using it for something. But, these things happen. And to your point, when they land in Panama, how did they go through all that air traffic without anybody being notified? Obviously something you had to have known because you're.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's probably going to be my next book about conspiracies. But this book, Personal One Heart, Two Countries, is a compilation of interviews that I did with Zonians, with Panamanians, with U.S. military, and they told me their stories, their personal stories, their heartfelt stories of events that affected their lives forever. You know, the trauma of being in combat, or the trauma of being stuck in their house for a month without being with people bringing food to them,
Correct.
and
Correct.
and Panamanians with listening to the explosions in their houses. I hope people read my book and get something out of it, because it's not a if you want to buy my book for war stories, it's not a
No,
book about war
certainly
stories.
not. It's certainly not that at all.
It's about the
So
experience that went around that war.
yes.
No,
The
it
human
absolutely is,
experience,
guys.
the
And
human
I'm,
level
I'm
experience.
trying to get the link to come up here. I'll put up this one. It'll be kind of long, but the other one, for whatever reason, doesn't show up. But bear with me here. I'll throw it on here. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a fascinating story, and the thing about it, guys, for the audience here, you can certainly relate to this, okay? Because it's everything that we understand and recognize as. I mean, everything about it. You know exactly what what Don's referring to in the book, and what the people that he's talking to referring to, because we've been to every one of these places at one point or another. So it is totally a familiar story. And it's on Amazon. Where else do you have your book, Don? Or is it just on Amazon?
No, I actually have it on Kindle now, so you can buy it on Kindle.
Yes.
Okay, which is great. If you have that Kindle Unlimited, just download it for free.
Yes, exactly. And don't tell nobody, but it's actually cheaper on Kindle. But
Ah,
don't tell nobody that though.
ah,
That's
that's only for viewers of Happy
yes,
at the
yes,
Balboa Yacht Club. You're gonna get
yeah.
that little inside tip there, man. So definitely. But so you know, give us the perspective of some of the things in this book. You know, some of the excerpts, for example, of what some of these stories are that people can expect to read that occurred 35 years ago.
So there's some of the ones that touch my heart are there was a young girl about 6 years old, and they were basically living under their living room or their kitchen table for weeks. They were scared because of all the explosions, and finally she snuck away from her mom. Her mom was busy doing something, and she went into her bedroom, and her of course the curtains were closed, and she opened up the curtains, and this soldier, U.S. soldier, turned around, and she was so scared, and the soldier looked right at her, and to this day this woman has PTSD for when she opens curtains.
That's got to be absolutely shocking, because that's almost your worst case scenario. That's the
Yeah.
last thing you want to see.
Yeah, and of course, the soldier was in full combat gear, and this was a 6-year-old girl.
Right.
She didn't. She of course she saw her father in uniform, but
Right. Of course.
not in full combat gear with a weapon.
No,
So
certainly not.
this poor woman has been in therapy for years because of this. 35 years later.
Wow, that's amazing. That's
And
amazing.
if just a bit of a side note, I'm in Panama all this week, and
That's right.
I was watching the local news channels. I'm a news junkie, and several of the stations were talking about the PTSD that Panamanians still to this day suffer
Yeah.
from the invasion, and there's a lot of people that don't that never received the bodies of their loved ones. And I guess they were buried. I don't want to get too morbid. That's depressing. But
Yeah.
they never received. They never found out what happened to their loved ones, and it's
I know there was a story with a bus, a bus that was going from Chorrera, and it happened to be on that midnight run, bus number 120, which you can see the story about that one, that unfortunately, that was one of the situations there, and then of course there's three Zonians that a lot of us know or know their families that unfortunately lost their lives that day. Ricky Paul, Ray Dragseth, and Gertrude or Candy Helen, which all three of them, rest in peace, were were friends or family of friends, and unfortunately they were caught up in this as well. So it really is a sad situation. we tend to look at it from American versus Panamanian, but for all of us here versus a news story from a war somewhere else in the world, this one we recognize the names, and
Yes.
same some on the Panamanian side, that we know of people or family or friends. I myself working for Copa Airlines, I had a lot of friends that were Panamanian, in addition Panamanian family. So there is that other component to this, like any other war. But I did put the link on here on the banner there. There's the Amazon link as well, and it's
Well, thank you very much.
No, of course, no. Thank you for joining us and sharing this. From the stories of the soldiers that were involved, what would you say their mindset was doing this? Being in a place that had so many Americans already there, because
Well,
when you
yeah,
war,
that's a good segue, because it's there was some of the soldiers that I interviewed. They thought they were just there for training, and they didn't realize until they got down here how serious it was. Because they one of the soldiers, they would get in a vehicle at Fort what is it, at Corzal, yes, and then they would charge out of there and go to the causeway, and they were telling him to load his weapon, and he's like, "Oh my God, I thought this was just a training.
right? Yeah,
And why am I loading my weapon?" And it's that happened to several young soldiers. They're 18, 19 years old. They didn't, and of course the military wasn't telling them anything that was going on. The soldiers that I interviewed said that they had to watch the local news to try to pick up on what was going on, because nobody was saying anything.
Well, and unlike today's world where you got a cell phone, you got internet,
Yeah,
you got all kinds of, literally real time news. There, if you get news 10 hours later, it's considered new. Right?
Yes.
Everything was either print or there's one time on TV or whatnot. So that was interesting as well. And then, a lot of other stories there. There was a captain in the Panamanian military, last name Jimenez, which a great story about his involvement with General Cisneros, who was commanding with the U.S. forces down there, and how this guy was integral in ending a lot of the bloodshed, because he coincidentally was promoted to captain at 11 a.m. on the 19th of December.
Oh, wow.
And then at 11:40 p.m. the bombing starts, and then of course you roll into midnight and 20th, and the invasion is full swing then, and his unit ended up getting captured the next day. It's an interesting story. I watched the video of it today, and they got taken to Clayton, I believe it was, and somehow General Cisneros got wind of this guy and got him out. And listening to the interview was done by Univision. And to me, one of the more fascinating things about it was listening to Cisneros talk, because this guy speaks fluent Spanish, and he's a U.S. general, but he was born and raised in Texas in the Corpus Christi area. So obviously he's got that Spanish, influence, but just absolutely fluent Spanish. And he got this Jimenez out, and and he told him, he goes, "Listen, man, we don't want any more bloodshed. We got to stop this. Get a hold of these guys and tell them if they stop fighting, we're good. We're good with stopping fighting as well. We have a beef with General Noriega and Colonel Del Cid, and that's our problem. That's you guys you're following orders. We get it, but and so that's what this guy ended up doing, and so he ended up calling, got his book of numbers of all the commanding officers in all different units, and little by little he was convincing them, turn yourselves in, don't.
So I actually have that story in my book.
Oh,
and yes. So when I interviewed Paris, he told me that when he was captured, he's like, "Oh my God, I'm just like everybody else now," and he was not sure what was going to happen to him, because he was in uniform, and he was a prisoner, And then when the general found out that who was captured, actually, the Perez, he actually still has the letter that the general sent to have him released,
Right.
and he still has the letter. And he said, he sent me a copy of the letter, but I couldn't add it to my book. It was too late. But which,
Sure.
I mean, it's an incredible story.
It
I mean, how
absolutely is. And it's a friendship to this day. They've traveled together the world.
Yeah.
He considers him, when you interview Cisneros, who's still with us today, fortunately, he says, he goes, I almost consider him like a son, because he was obviously much younger. Cisneros was a general now, and this guy had just, I mean, literally a captain for 12 hours. You can imagine that. And all of a sudden he's commanding forces in a war. But when they asked him, what do you think about Cisneros? And he starts crying. He goes, this guy, he saved a lot of Panamanian lives.
Yeah,
You don't realize it. He did not want this to be, he didn't consider the Panamanians, which Ricky will certainly appreciate this. This wasn't the enemy, like you would in any other typical war. These guys were, even to your point, a lot of these guys stationed down there, you're in a place that's probably way different. I can only speculate. That's way different than being stationed anywhere else in the world because of the amount of Americans that were there.
Yes.
You go to Germany, Japan, Korea, England, wherever, you're within your base. That's your Americans. Everybody else is a foreigner. And in the zone, you can be in Howard, Clayton, anywhere. There's a ton of Americans everywhere around you. So it had to be a strange feeling to be in combat, almost in your own country in a sense.
Yes. Yeah. So going back to the Paris story, they the special forces units came up with this idea of going to towns in the interior, and they would go with combat units as support. But these special forces soldiers would go into town, and when they would go to the police stations, and they would tell the police stations, the officers there, you have two choices. You can, put down your weapons, or you can, and then of course, they could see the soldiers there. So, they weren't idiots. They knew what was going to happen. And so that's what these SF soldiers did. And they went through these towns, the little bitty towns throughout Panama. And they saved so many lives doing this, because they could have easily went in there shooting, and they didn't. They set up this, and I mean, it probably saved thousands of lives doing it that way.
100% it did, because it really, again, they had, this was unlike, a typical combat situation where there's the two countries are at odds, and for whatever reason, and it's more than just one person. Here it really was going after one person.
Yes.
He really was using the entire military and the entire government apparatus as his bodyguards, his mechanism, his funding, and everything else. So, that's who they were going after, and they didn't want to go and kill all these Panamanians. It wasn't, it's not what they were there for. And so it really was a testament that these guys got together and made it happen. And even after it, you segue over to now what happened with Noriega and eventually how he got captured, and Cisneros, actually, there was because he ended up going to the papal nuncio, which is in essence the Vatican's embassy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, once they had him there and contained, the Vatican is an embassy. It is a international protected grounds like any other embassy out there. And so they weren't going to go in there and take him. And so Cisneros ended up going into a school that's across the street, and he stayed there for several days while they were figuring this stuff out. And ultimately, how it ended up, the way they ended up getting Noriega to finally come out, and it's my understanding that this guy was an intermediary in that as well. They basically said, go back in history, because remember, Noriega was a history buff. Okay?
Yes.
And they said, go back in history and think of what happened to Mussolini. Mussolini was captured, and the people in Italy by that time were so fed up with him and so angry at the war that he had brought on into Italy that they hung him up. And they did awful things. They desecrated the body left and right. And so at that point, there had been a big group of angry people now. Because remember, if you guys recall, remember they were playing the rock and roll music. They had all the tanks set up around. They had it all surrounded, and there was crowds of people. I mean, thousands and thousands of people sitting there waiting. And they had a large group that basically, sent word to Cisneros, listen, you guys leave, we will go in there and take him out.
Yeah.
Even the head of the papal nuncio, the bishop or whatever his title was there, he even said to Cisneros, come in and get him, man. Come in and get him out of here. And they're like, we can't. I'm not about to set foot in a foreign land, in essence, and do that without.
That would have caused an international incident.
100% it would.
Yeah.
And so this is what ended up happening. He said, listen, the U.S. ain't coming in to get you, but these guys are. And you just look out the window, you open the blinds, and you're like, and that's when he decided, you know what? I'll take my chance with America. He goes, I don't want to be executed. And Cisneros said to him, listen, the crimes that you're accused of, even if convicted to the full extent of the law, do not qualify for the death penalty.
Mm-hmm.
So that was finally when he's like, all right, I'll give up, Then he started setting conditions. I want my uniform, and how Cisneros says in the interview, he goes, I don't care if this guy comes out in red underwear. I just give him what he wants. Get him the hell out of here. We got to get him out. And then Noriega also says, I don't want to be in handcuffs. I want to be this, that, and the other. And he's like, yeah, right. Bullshit. The moment he came out, they cuffed his ass, man, and got him out of there.
So I don't know if you're aware of this, but Noriega was actually captured twice prior to the invasion. One story is very famous where he talked his way out of it, and then he ended up killing the guy. Yes, that's a very famous story. Right. But I had an interview with a man who was on top of the building in Clayton, the headquarters building there, and he had a rifle with a scope on it, and he was waiting for a Panamanian military vehicle to show up that had Noriega in it, he said. And he was his job was to make sure that when they brought Noriega up, that he wouldn't escape. But that's a very nobody knows. That's not a lot of people know that story. And then what happened was, right when they were coming up on the front gate of Clayton, the military jeep turned around and went and left. So I don't know if he bribed the person that was driving him, but that's what happened.
Well, and when that occurred, I know that distinctly because I was on a plane. I was on a Pan Am flight that had just taken off, and the flight path would go over the water and then turn, and head north. And it usually would bank if you're sitting on that side and look out over that area in Chorrillo, and you could see the smoke and everything. And I remember landing in Miami and calling home just to let them know that I landed. And they're telling me, yeah, things are bad here. Have you seen the news? Which, of course, you wait till you get off the airplane. Again, no internet back then. But that there was a coup attempt, and we don't know what's going on yet. But there's gunfire explosions or whatever else, and I was like, wow, that's interesting, And obviously, it wasn't successful.
It's my personal feeling that the United States overreacted in the whole situation. There were so many. They had so many chances that could have taken out Noriega before the invasion. That it was
I think the United States at that point was done with the dictatorship. That was 21 years of dictatorship there, and I think if you took Noriega out, somebody fills that vacuum and it continues. It's as usual. And so I think you had to take down that entire apparatus and start from scratch with a new government, a new country, and ultimately things didn't turn out so well for the U.S. for several years after. But I think that was the intent of the invasion. Obviously get Noriega. But for your point, I think the United States had more than the capabilities to take him out if they wanted to without having to invade. But then it would just somebody else would have fallen in and continued.
That's what happened in Afghanistan. So that you're definitely 100% right on that. That's what would have happened.
I mean, 21 years that government apparatus was 100% run by the military. So if you take out that general, another one comes in, nothing changes for the Panamanian people. They're still in a dictatorship that was, and at that point, think about it, the military had, just weeks prior to the invasion, the military had assumed total control. Noriega at that point, remember his speech with the machete? That's when
Yes.
he announced that he is now head of the government of Panama. It was no longer a puppet, president that he was running the shows behind the scenes. He was 100% out in front. Remember, he declared war on the U.S. and everything else. So,
Yeah. Hey, not to change the subject, but I was my wife's cousin told me today that he was going to take us to dinner at a restaurant on the Causeway. And can you guess? Can you guess what restaurant? I don't know if you. I think you don't have me live on the camera, but guess what restaurant I went to?
El
Have
Fogón?
you been to the Canal House?
Oh, yes.
We haven't, but I saw a video of it last year when they had the Canal Zone reunion. They had a big shindig there.
So when we sat down to eat, I was trying to triangulate where I was sitting because I haven't been to Panama in over 20 plus years, and I'm like, I know that the yacht club is somewhere around here, and it was just irritating me. I couldn't. I hate not knowing where I'm at when I'm at so when my family was sitting there chit chatting, I walked toward the water, and I noticed there was a security guard down the road, and so I went down and talked to him, and I said, in my horrible Spanish, I asked him where the yacht club was, and he goes, "You're in the yacht club."
Yeah.
And it took me back. I almost started crying because the memories I had from going to the yacht club when I was a young man, and it was so I looked over and I asked him. I said, "Well, where was it?" And the only thing that was left was the cement base of the bar.
Yeah.
And he said, I asked if I could go over there, and he said no because it was it's under construction. But I mean that almost brought tears to my eyes seeing that all my memories just washed away. It's
There were certain places in the zone that were places that everybody visited and went to.
Yes.
Yacht Club was one of them. Stevens Circle, Balboa Stadium. The hill on the Admin. Those were places that everybody, no matter where you lived, no matter what you did, at some point you set foot in there, and probably more than once.
Yes.
That's what made it iconic. And you're right, absolutely. To this day, when you look at those pictures of it, it's like,
So I bought a hard time with that. I bought a $25 T-shirt. I didn't care how much it cost.
No,
my wife looked at me like I was crazy. I said, I don't care. I don't care what the T-shirt costs, and it's a very nice quality. And the food was incredible, and
So, Panama has progressed a lot since the days of the canals, and no doubt about it, but for us, and you can appreciate it to a certain extent, but for Zonians to grow up down there, it's, I still have a beef, and I say it every day, and people laugh at me about Sosa Hill, man. Cut those damn trees, burn that thing down. Holy shit, they would burn it every year, man. That's the way that should be. I hate that, man.
I didn't even recognize the causeway when I lived here. The causeway was, one way in, one way out,
Right.
and if you went off the side of the road, you were going into the ocean. So I didn't recognize the causeway. I did see where Noriega's house was at. I did that I did recognize that, but beside that, everything else was completely new to me. It's incredible what they've done there.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. They have progressed really well. Anywhere else, it would be nothing but pride, but there, it's depressing because what it's covering up is something that was near and dear,
And you are right. It would probably be better for them to just clean house on that to get because it doesn't.
Ricky and I are firm believers that was at the behest of China. To me, that was erase the American influence 100%. And if they could get away with tearing down Barnaby Street and the Admin, they would have done that too.
Yeah, they even want to put it. They wanted to put their embassy up where Eftamares used to live, right
Yeah.
at the entrance of the canal. They wanted to put this ginormous Chinese embassy with the
Oh,
Chinese flag
really?
flying
Wow.
over. Yeah, but there was a couple of politicians fought and ended up canceling those
Yeah.
plans. But
No,
yeah,
they Panama when China came in and became the big influential power broker in Panama in the early 90s, they went in there with a mission to completely erase the memory of the United States.
Sure.
correct. The
Completely
American
erase.
experience.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
you know.
yeah, in that sense, that's probably another reason why that bothers me. But just like I said, just the whole fact that I rode my bicycle on that causeway. I played
Yeah,
that
but wait,
baseball field, and now
To
it's nothing but
change
a
the
cargo facility.
This is
Mhm.
Great.
why I like Molino, guys, because he's changing the narrative. Two
Yeah,
things
I
that
love
came
it.
out today.
Absolutely.
One
Really.
was it wasn't an invasion; it was an intervention because there was already bases there. So the word invasion doesn't properly fit.
Right, right.
The
You can't invade a
second
place you
thing
live
is that he's saying there's actually three things, and I'll get to the most important thing last, not for any particular reason. But the second thing he said was we need to now focus on two things. One of the two was how did we get here?
in.
Not
Right,
what happened afterwards, which is the focus, right? The new bombs, the new technology, the this, the that, the other death, right? But they're trying to now change the narrative to say, let's talk about what led to this intervention because
right.
that's where the true problem is. It was
Yeah.
one man that could have easily changed the course of history. So, and the final thing is that, which is what I like this, what the president is doing is that he is going to make sure every person that died is identified and honored.
Oh,
Yeah.
Especially the civilians. So
Well,
that's the new pro-U.S. narrative that's coming up
nice.
they
out of
had
the
a
government.
very beautiful show on the news today about everyone that passed away that was killed. I mean, it was very respectful. They had
Correct.
military guards in their nice uniforms, and they had guest speakers talking. I mean,
Yes.
it was very heartfelt.
Yes, it's his effort. That's a good president. So that was the main thing, but the other two things, since we're talking about that, I mentioned those first.
Well, and what's interesting is, and I'm pulling these up here because Cassie just sent these to me. Um, that Al Sprague, who again, happy birthday, Al, tomorrow. Um,
Happy birthday, Al.
he he was commissioned to be the official painter for Operation Just Cause by the
Oh,
military. Yeah. So so it's interesting there to talk about that. But she just shared with me some of his paintings.
Images, yeah, I've seen him.
Yeah, let me pull these up because there's some really amazing stuff here. Hold on.
Why doing that, Don? Thanks for being on. We
Yeah,
appreciate the knowledge you bring on for this date
absolutely.
and
well,
being
I
available today.
appreciate you having me on your show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
man.
it's great, man. This
Don.
is round two for us, so we're definitely fortunate. We hit the jackpot with you, man. So
Thank
very
you. Thank you.
appreciate that.
Well,
But yeah,
well
so
I'm honored that you bought my book.
yeah,
Uh,
no, of course. And guys, the link I'll put it back up there. Get on there on Amazon. It's this is a story we can all relate to. Okay, we were born and raised in this place, right? So you read this book and then you're talking to somebody about it. You're like, man, I was there, man. I know exactly what they're talking about. I can totally see where they were at when they mentioned that. But yeah, let me go
so
ahead and bring him up to the stage here so you guys can check these out. This is nonetheless. But anyhow, again, Don, it's an amazing story. Let me get that link back up there for your book, and go ahead. You were going to say something else.
That Gertrude Helene, is it?
Helen.
Was she a school teacher?
Yes.
Be- because I have a student that I interviewed of hers, and she told me that when she went back to school, that her teacher, she didn't know, they never told her what happened. So I'm just putting the pieces together, and and so wow, that's her. Wow.
Yeah, and her daughters, Stephanie Helen, who Stephanie Bacot now, who lives here, and then Tracy Helen, also older sister.
Oh,
But
yes.
they're close friends. Stephanie's a dear friend. Both of them,
Yes.
Tracy and Stephanie. But so again,
Well,
our
if you could,
condolences.
if you could pass on, please, that young student that I interviewed back, at that time, she had so much love for that teacher. So
Yeah.
if you could pass that on to the family members, that
Yeah,
she
absolutely.
still remembered.
Yeah,
So
no, she was. That was I didn't know her personally, but when the other day when Stephanie, I think either yesterday or this morning, posted a memory of her mom, that was beautiful, and the amount of outpouring of love, and people, a lot of them remembering her, it was beautiful to see. It certainly was sad, but beautiful at the same time. There was somebody that was so well loved, and that left a wonderful legacy, and with her kids and everything. So, but that's the ugly side of war and everything. It's we
yes,
don't like, and so it makes December 20th a day that should be a fun, hopeful day, that we're coming up around Christmas, to something that's sad for us, but it is what
well,
it is. It's
yes,
part
it
of the
is.
world we live in.
And
Um,
I did notice when I was driving around Panama today that the flags are at half mast. The Panamanian flags are at half
yeah.
mast, showing the respect.
Correct.
So
No booze and no booze allowed.
Yep. Sorry,
that's
guys.
exactly.
When I put the images up, I didn't realize that I took us off the screen. So the whole time we were talking about it, um, nobody heard it, because they're like, "Say, did we lose you guys?" So no, what Don was mentioning on that picture, and we were talking about it. How Al Sprague, the way it's just a magical hand, the way he captures those images. And Don said, he goes, "Listen, I've jumped out of these Blackhawks plenty of times, and that's exactly what that look captures, that whole
And
feeling of
felt.
it, and
And
felt
felt.
like,
Yeah.
but and then of course, our heartfelt condolences, and rest in peace to those that we know that we lost, and many others, obviously, because on the Panama side there's a lot of other families that this is not a day of anything but sadness. So
Yeah.
you know
35th year.
yeah, it's hard to believe. Wow, it's been holy cow, man.
Yeah, it's sad. I follow a lot of veterans groups and U.S. veterans groups, and they're still sad about it. They didn't want they didn't want to go there and kill people. They didn't want to see the bodies killed.
Right.
It's they're suffering. They felt the pain on both sides. They didn't want to hurt people.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rosanna's asking, I should share what's been blessed to make with my Panama designs and Al's painting, working on getting them out again with Kath. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Cassie's she's heading out to Hawaii. So if you're ordering anything now, it's going to be after Christmas. But again, if you're in Panama, she's going to be at the Canal Zone reunion down there. So make sure you go to Stevens Circle and pick up some Al Sprague art from Panama Arts. But yeah, that's really cool. And then how do I share from my Facebook page ones that I had made? Then go jump on the SCN Canal Zone page and share them there. You're more than welcome to. Follow us there. You guys remember that SCN Canal Zone page, for whatever reason tonight, couldn't pick up even the second stream, but I did post the YouTube link, so hopefully you're watching it on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube for the first time, please subscribe and like and share and all that good stuff. Especially subscribe, so we can grow that channel and help the algorithm spread the word. A lot of Zonians aren't on social media, but everybody's on YouTube. So we can spread the word, where you jump on there as a Zonian, and all of a sudden some Zonian content pops up, and you're like, holy cow, look at this Happy Out the Balboa Yacht Club. What the hell is that? And help us spread the word by subscribing to the channel and see what happens there. But yeah, definitely, Rosanna, put it on the Facebook page, and we're more than happy to spread the word. Anybody that's got anything Canals on, this is a place you can share it and spread the word. If you want to promote your business, your gig, jump on here, jump on the comments and throw it out there. We'd love to share it. Put your website on there. I don't have no problem sharing that stuff. We want to help Zonians flourish and grow. So, but anyhow, guys, the link, I just had it on there again. Make sure you check it out. This is Don Stock. He's the author of Personal One Heart, Two Countries. Okay. An amazing book that's, like he said, if you're looking for one of those combat books, that's not what this is. This is about stories of the Canal Zone, the people involved, and not just people with a gun in their hand. It was a lot of other people that were touched by this, and that's really what we're looking at here. Just a different story, a different perspective of what was a sad day for all of us. I remember sitting at home when my dad came in and told me about it. So. But definitely check it out, Don. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're always welcome to join us anytime. You said you're going to work on that conspiracy book, man. I'd love to hear about that one, and we'll bring you on for that as well. We're after a few rounds of cheers and salute. We're ready to listen to all kinds of conspiracies. So
I can go down that road if you'd like.
Yeah, no, we love it. We would love it. We would love to have
we digress
you
like
here talk
nobody's
about that.
business, man. So we would be just fine with that one. But any parting message, Don, before we cut you off here? And again, guys, there's a link to his book on Amazon. Check it out. If you've got the Kindle Unlimited, it's free, man. Just go up there, click the link, and you're reading it, man.
Thank you, and really, just my condolences to everyone that lost loved ones.
Yes.
I want to cry just thinking about it. So it was a horrible thing happened. So
yeah,
Panamanians do watch this show, and I think they'll appreciate hearing what you're saying, because a lot of people, the narrative has been the opposite. The ugly. We went there to crush them kind of thing, which is not true.
Right. And this is coming from somebody that wasn't a Zonian, that was stationed in Panama, was in the military. But again, the story definitely has a narrative that, to your point, Ricky, I think people would appreciate it and see the other side of what was going on there, and what people were actually feeling and thinking, more so than just, pow pow.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Blowing up. Yeah. So thank you for this wonderful book. And again, thank you, Don, for joining us. We really appreciate having you on. Enjoy your stay in Panama. Enjoy it there as well. And Merry Christmas to you and Happy New Year, my friend.
Thank you. Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad y Felices Pascuas. Take care. All right, Ricky, that was pretty good, man. That was a lot of fun.
I love having Don
that's
on.
an interesting story. Don's got a great perspective on it. And, it's interesting to hear that it's not, this rah, the Army, our story there, in fact, like he said, he goes, I really don't think we should have done it. And but it's nonetheless
like an honorary Zonian, because
yeah.
he wrote a book. He respects the history, he respects the camaraderie, the brotherhood of the two nations. So yeah, I think he's on.
Yeah, but like Jill says, it is an accurate title for that book. Absolutely, guys. And Zonians, we're lazy. It's easy reading, guys. It's not a giant book. Okay. So but it's a great book. Really, really great book. Get it on the Kindle Unlimited, even if you get the printed version. I think it was like $13-14. But definitely a good read. That you could share with a lot of people that don't know really what happened here and how that whole Canal Zone thing took place. But so I started chuckling at the end. I don't know what got me thinking about this, Ricky, but we were talking earlier about our technical difficulties, right? And then how they went off the air and then we came back on, and then just fooling around that, it's like, yeah, well, when we're in the background here, we're trying to fix you. We'll upload that and click this and click that shit. And truth of the matter is, we were both looking at it going, what happened?
What do we do? So of course,
I don't know.
We get into politics.
Yeah, so we started going the road.
All we do was yell at each other for 20 minutes. We're like, oh, we got to get back on the show, Willie. Boom, we get back on the show. Hi, everybody.
But let me tell you, for like 3 minutes, it was nasty. Nasty to the point where, like, fuck it, we're not getting on the show.
We love it, Willie. How many years have we been doing these stupidities of talking?
And then next year, we're both laughing at each other like, what a bunch of dumbass.
I know.
man.
Okay, we got 3 minutes to get on the show. Okay.
That's so funny, man. But nonetheless, that's why I love Ricky, man, because listen, we were mad at each other for a split second there, man. But it came and went, man. It was like lightning. All of a sudden it was gone. Right.
No,
But
the show does do that to us because this show's not about us. This show's about, leaving that history for you guys and to listen to, but more than anything, to leave the history for the future
right. That's
generations
what
to know who
yes.
we were.
And that's why I something that we still have to work on there. Ricky and I are, we love having you guys involved as the audience, and we want to try and click on as many times as we can to get the comments on there. And a lot of times, by the time we get to the comment, that narrative is over. That story's over. We've moved past it. Part of it's a delay. There's a bit of a lag in there. And that's where we got to learn to kind of preface it a little bit to get more involvement. But part of that, guys, is because we preserve all these shows. They're obviously on the different social media networks as well. But one thing I would absolutely love is for somebody 50 years from now, 100 years from now, that is wanting to research something about the Canal Zone can look at our show and not just listen to our stories, but then even see the comments when someone types in there and says, hey, I grew up on such and
This
such
street,
location. I did this, and I met such and such person. That's part of the history that we're also trying to capture and preserve here. So, when we start talking about this, we're going to, kind of like we try to do with the Christmas tree thing, preface it enough that you guys get your stories and throw them out there so we can involve it and make that a fun, engaging way to go back to the zone. Because that Christmas tree one, that to me, man, I had those. You almost were excited when Christmas was over because, all right, man, everybody started taking your damn decorations down. We got Christmas trees to collect,
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean, it was competitive, like our football,
man,
our football league. It was
You
just
did
as
not drive
competitive.
down the street without looking for trees, man.
Yeah.
You're in mom and dad's car going to the grocery store, or whatever, and you're looking down the street. Hold on, slow down. Because there's a tree out there somewhere, man.
And then you had to get on your bike.
Hey,
Get on your bike, get over to your buddy's house, tell him
man.
where the tree was before somebody else got there. You had to both get some rope, 2 bikes.
You use her jump rope to tie up the trees, man, and you tie it to your bicycle.
And we had territories too. Like if the tree was in La Boca, Balboa kids couldn't go get it unless it was at night.
Unless it was the night when you're snagging it.
You're snagging trees at night. Right.
Man. No, that was awesome. I definitely want to bring that up. That's one that we'll promote that one, Ricky. We'll talk about it, get some stuff going here, and we'll get some folks from Gamboa. Jill, you brought that up, so we'll see. We'll see what those Gamboa folks were really all about with your Christmas tree stories. I know La Boca, in fact, Yvonne Fishbow they were gonna try and join us. They unfortunately couldn't make it, but they were gonna. I mean, that Fishbow house was a storage place. That was the La Boca tree storage place. Balboa had him as well, so. Definitely want to do that. So guys, go back into your memory banks and start pulling up your stories. If you got any pictures, send them our way because we for sure want to talk about the Christmas tree wars, man, because that was absolutely epic, man. So love the margarita tree burns. Yeah, absolutely. We want to get more of that Atlantic side component. So please share your stories. Sorry guys, come and join us. Let's talk about the other half of the Canal Zone, because it was the other half. Let's bring that in and get those people sponsored as well. KFC sponsored the event. Right on. Your sister won and I won the egg. Yeah. Right on. There you go. Man. No, Lee Morton was on earlier. Lee had some really cool messages earlier there before Christmas was over. You would visit neighbors. Yes, you would. That's right. Knock on your door. Hey, when you take your tree down, can I have it? I love it. Absolutely.
Yeah, because Balboa had like 3 or 4 different teams. So we had to split up Balboa. I think La Boca only had one. I don't know what Lee's talking about permission. You guys only had one team.
Look at that. He's already laying down the gauntlet. Here we go.
Well, Lee and I are the same age, so we were fighting the same wars.
There you go. Oh, Lori, look at you. All right, there you go. Another tree host right there. Right on. So we'll have to tell us, Lori, what you guys did to secure your trees. And how you figured out who was on duty when and all that good stuff, because it was, man. Parents probably didn't like it. I'm pretty sure my dad wouldn't let me leave the house at 2:00 in the morning to go steal trees. But and again, there was no cell
parents didn't know.
You weren't texting anyone going, "Hey, I'm on my way." You had to make sure your alarm was set or whatever, so you could be out quietly, man. And Off we
Oh
went
no,
on the mission.
you had to be, pull that you're dressed and then pull the sheet over you. Okay, mom, I'm going to bed. Good night.
Correct. Correct. And you better be there on time because I
And
can't text you. I can't
out the
call you.
window you went. Because remember, we had the louvered window, so you would just take out like 4 louvers and whoop, out you went.
That's right, man. And if you screwed up and one of those louvers fell,
Oh, but yeah.
oh man, those things
You
were
know what was
loud.
also funny, Willie? I mean, we got to end the show. Was you can find those louvers at the bottom of everybody's houses. There was always a stack of louvers under
Correct.
someone's house.
Correct. And remember, all you did was bent the 2 tabs on the end and you could slide it
Yeah,
out.
put it in. Like they're all standard size, and yes, I remember
Look
that.
at Lori. Lori said it was late night sleep on the roof. Yeah, for sure. You had to, man. And
You
then
had to,
Lee
yeah.
talking about Barsness would chain the trees on there. Yeah, man. To tell you what, it was territorial, man, and that was a big deal. And
Oh
the funny
yeah,
thing
and
is
the
everybody was
count
showing up
too.
the
You
same
had to
thing.
count it every day.
Yes, yes, you did, man. And that was bragging rights, man. You were the king of the street, man. If you had all those trees, man, that was good stuff, man. I'm
Good
excited
stuff.
for that. We
Good
definitely
memory.
that's a January story for sure, man.
For
So
sure, and it's good that they're still doing it. So hopefully we'll get some pictures, or maybe even live, or if it's on a Friday night.
yeah, no, absolutely. I think absolutely that's hold on, that's not it. Yeah, no, it's gonna be a lot of fun, but nonetheless, so great show, guys.
On the beautiful isthmus of Panama,
It's a
you're
Christmas
viewing
and stuff, but then again, we have that somber moment, and again, rest in peace to those that we lost for just cause. That is still,
Yes.
kind of sad for us, but otherwise though, as usual, Canal Zone memories is what we're talking about here, going back to the zone, back to all those wonderful places. Next week is going to be our post Christmas show, so probably just going to be Ricky and I just having some fun. We're still debating whether to do something for New Year's Eve show. There's a lot of people posting on social media. They got their tickets to staying home doing nothing, so maybe we all stay home doing nothing together.
Yeah.
So
I
we'll
think it's a
see.
great
Keep that in
idea,
mind.
Willie.
Let us know, guys, if you want to do something like that. Let us know. We'll set one up, man, and have some fun doing that. But otherwise, everybody have a Merry Christmas, Felices Pascuas. Be safe. Have a wonderful time with your families, and we will see you guys Friday, December 27th or something. But Ricky, man, get us out of here. Kick off our weekend, my
Thank
friend.
you, everybody, and thanks for all those that joined us. We had a great group on the second attempt. Gracias. We will fix our technical issues. Yeah, right. But anyways, thank you. See you guys next week. Love you very much.
Awesome. Take care, guys. Love you guys. Take care, everybody. Have a good night. Ricky, Carlos, Papa. Hey, we made it through this one. A little painful, man, but we made it happen as usual.
I was fucking with you, brother.
I know.
You can cancel the show. Listen, you're going to be my little brother for the rest of your fucking life. Too bad, Will.